up, everyone? Back with another video. So on this one, I'm going to be talking about how my Hellcat Charger made me $96,000 in a year. And I know you clicked this video because you're like, how did this dude make $96,000 on a Hellcat Challenger? It didn't involve me selling it. It didn't involve me flipping it or doing anything of that nature. So a lot of you who follow me know that I own a very well-known car rental company called Drive Rentals. We've been in business for over 10 years. We've had multiple Hellcats and Trackhawks, but I'm going to tell you about a specific Hellcat and when we got it and how it made $96,000, and then I'm going to tell you what happened to it. So this was a Charger Hellcat wide body. We were one of the first people to have this vehicle at the time when it first came out. I believe it was like 2020 is when Dodge released them. Um, I have a private rental company. I was on Turo when Turo was called Relay Rides for years. This was actually not done through Turo because the profit margins are nowhere near as what they are as a private rental company. But I'm going to tell you why Turo's a lot safer than owning your own rental company. So purchased the Charger Hellcat. At the time, there was buzz for these cars, but not anywhere near what it is today. Today, it's the clout car, one of those cars that just you see everywhere. And a lot of rental companies weren't hip to Hellcats like that. They didn't really know what kind of profit margins they could bring or really anything about them. So um, I'd actually got a really good deal on this car from one of my guys he's a wholesaler. He works for dealers and stuff like that. And he was like, "Hey man, I got this brand new 2020 Charger Hellcat wide body black." He's like, "I think it'll be a great car for your fleet." So, I pretty much was like, it wasn't a lot of money. It was really relatively nothing down for this car. So, I looked at it like, hey, man, it was a really really good investment. I'm like, we had the previous um, Hellcats and stuff before the narrow body, Trackhawk and stuff like that. But I'm like, let's test it out. Let's see. So, just to give you guys a little bit of insight how the rental business works, that same vehicle on Turo would most likely rent for like, I would say like maybe $125 a day. I was charging 450 a day, 450 to 500, 450 to sometimes 550 a day for that car, and I would get it. So it was about 450, 550 a day. $1,500 deposit. You had to have full coverage insurance. I had very, very strict guidelines for Hellcats, specifically this car. When you came to rent it, I had a 3-speed rule that was you couldn't if we got 3-speed alerts, anything over 95 miles an hour. First time we'd reach out to you. Second time we'd warn you, the final warning. The third time your rental was over, you forfeit the whole deposit plus the entire rental. When we would come in, we would take the car back. We had to do this to many, many people. And the reason I did that was to preserve the longevity of this vehicle as much as I could because I knew it was a roll of dice and it was risky. I knew that people were going to get this car to speed. I don't. We have much faster cars than Hellcats that we rent. The McLaren 720S, 911 Turbo S, Ferrari 488 at the time, the Ventador, stuff like that. That's. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's faster, but obviously the 720S is. But a lot of these cars they're more to handle than the Hellcat, and I never really had those kind of problems on those cars. But obviously, everyone knows the Hellcat crowd is pretty crazy, which is a good thing and a bad thing. The buzz behind the car brought a lot of clients, and people were willing to pay that kind of money for that car. But you deal with a crowd of basically younger people who speed. So for the longest, we had the limit as 21 years old to rent this vehicle, and then we changed it to 25. Um, Not only did we do that, but you had to have a full coverage policy that was to certain limits that covered rental cars. And believe it or not, a lot of people don't know that a lot of insurance companies started not covering Hellcats specifically as rentals, not just for us, but for the renters. So, like, if you have State Farm or something, and you went to New York early and you rented a Hellcat and you wrecked it and something happened to it, they could deny that claim to it. But that's a whole nother story that I'll get into um, later. So yeah, like Hellcat Charger wide body, 450 to 550 per day. And I'm not lying to you guys, there was days out of the month where this thing would maybe rent 25 out of 31 days. I mean, and it was averaging, it would always do over 20 days a month. Um, the money didn't just come from the rentals. I had it set up, obviously rentals, you get 100 miles a day. Every mile over per day that you do was like, I was charging like $2 per mile, which is nothing crazy, but believe it or not, when someone's enjoying a car, they're not thinking about the miles. So a lot of people did go over the miles and they had no problem paying. Sometimes the miles would be more than the entire rental, which is crazy. Some people would do $1,000 over in miles and rentals, but as a business standpoint, it was very profitable for me. So a lot of people were asking me about this car specifically, about how I preserved it for as long as I did. And like I said, the 3-speed rule, our GPS tracking is super, super accurate. I mean, I've tested it on multiple cars. You can get in that thing and go 100. It's going to send a text message the second it hits 95 or 100 miles an hour. It's going to send it. It's going to send it to us. It's going to send it to me, some of my other team members in my company. And their sole job is to watch the cars on the tracker and reach out to people that are doing stuff. Um, a lot of people really did respect the car. I want people to have fun with the cars because we are a motorsports driven rental company. We do have the cooler cars per se, but I had no tolerance for speeding just because we've lost so many cars to people being reckless. So for me to preserve this vehicle, I knew that I had to be very strict on my guidelines for it. So that big thing in the contract where you forfeit your whole deposit and you forfeit the rental, that actually scared a lot of people from speeding. I had to reach out to people, once, sometimes twice, but I never really had to go, all the way with a lot of renters. Most people respected it and didn't have to do it. I did have to take the car back, quite a few times, but it was just people were just being super reckless. I had a no burnout clause. And believe it or not, we actually checked. So anytime the car would come back, we had the thread meter. We tracked the thread of the tires and we would document it with photos and put it on the contract so the person can actually see it. And then we would always do a little trick where you take your hand and you stick it in the back of the wheel well when someone brings it back, and you can feel if someone did a burnout because there's rubber on there. A lot of people don't know that, but if you're into, if you have a Hellcat or any car you have and you did a burnout in it, you know this. If you stick your hand back behind the tire and you rub the wheel well, you can feel the rubber back there. So a lot of people didn't know that, and then, when the car comes back smelling like burn, you know that too. So yeah, man, this car was renting like crazy. People loved it. We lowered it. We put 10 on it. We left it relatively stock, put a B Woody intake on it, so the whine was loud. It was extremely loud, so people love that. And yeah, the car, I mean, it was great. It made so much money. Like I said, it made a documented $96,000. Give or take a little bit of stuff. That's profit. I'm not talking about with car washes and gas. That's after that. After car washes, gas, little repairs here and there. That's what it profited $96,000 because it would have been more. Um, so yeah, no, it sounds great. People are like, oh, how can I get a Hellcat and do that? I'm gonna tell you right now, in today's times, there's absolutely no way humanly possible that you're gonna rent a Hellcat and make that kind of money. Not even that. It's not gonna last. Every single rental for a Hellcat nowadays is theft. Someone trying to steal it, someone trying to steal parts off of it, or someone, they're gonna wreck it. That's just how it is. There's no way to rent Hellcats anymore. TRXs, Trackhawks, which is the reason why I don't even rent them anymore. I stopped renting those cars completely, and I have one of the biggest indexed rental pages in LA for Hellcat search keyword, and I mean I get 100 calls a day, no joke, for Hellcats, and I never, I just, I tell people like we temporarily don't rent Hellcats. I think about it sometimes like, could I get one and take it to full blown, shirt I'm wearing, full blown performance in California or something, and get one of the tuners to detune it. But at that point, it's like, why even rent the Hellcat if I'm gonna detune it? Give you basically the black key performance or even lower. What's the point of renting it? It takes the enjoyment out of the car when I could just rent you some kind of Mercedes or BMW that you're most likely not gonna treat like you're gonna treat a Hellcat. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So I was getting 450, 550 a day for this car, and people would come rent it for a week at a time. Obviously it's a group of people, but I get those guys every now and then. They were by themselves. They would rent it for 3 days, 4 days. It was never rented I first off, I don't do one day rentals. I do a minimum of 2 days, so it was always 2 days or more. So when you think about that, that's like almost $1,000 rental right off the bat. So like I said, it was a very very profitable car. It made a lot of money. It for the most part, I didn't have any major issues with people. I had guys that would do the burnout, and then they bring it back and they're like, "Look, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, I did a burnout." I'm like, "Yeah, I can tell you did," but they're like, "Look, I'll pay for the new tires and stuff." I still kind of, took that, even though people were responsible as far as paying for the stuff they messed up. I just didn't like the wear and tear on the car, so that's why I was so big on no burnouts and beating on it because I wanted to preserve it. They break drive. People, the Hellcats have drive shaft issues, transmission issues, and little stuff here and there when people beat on them. So I was really trying to avoid that so we can make our return on the investment. Um, but yeah, it was a really good car. I mean, for a whole year, I was able to preserve this car, and I was happy because people are like, "Man, like, how are you making a Hellcat last?" And I even told my business friend, I'm like, "This car has lasted this whole time." Knock on wood, I did jinx this because I'm gonna get to that part. Um, so let me get to that part. So as far as like maintenance and repairs and stuff, I think I had one guy who wasn't too smart. Obviously, the car was lowered, but he took it to Big Bear, California. He took it off road, not purposely. He was going to park in a parking lot that was dirt. And if any of you guys ever been up there to the snow resort, there's dirt parking lots with like rocks and stuff. I don't know why he rented the Hellcat. This guy usually rents a Lamborghini Huracan and Urus from us. He wanted to try the Hellcat. He takes it up there with his girlfriend. Long story short, the car bottoms out and he basically hit the bottom of the transmission valve body and he dented it so bad that the car put itself into like a protective mode where he got stuck. So we had to tow the car all the way from Big Bear. It lost all the fluids. It was like they charged Dodge charged like $6,000 for a new transmission valve body and some other parts that they said they claimed it was broke, but he ended up paying for it. But other than that, I can't really think of anything with that car because I got it with no miles. It had like 5 miles on it when the dealer brought it to us. They actually personally delivered that car to us. The guy brought it was online paperwork and everything. He delivered it to us. Had the pink front splitter on it and stuff. Um, never had no really any issues out of it other than tires, oil changes, and maintenance stuff. I mean, I can't think of any problems that car really ever had. So, fast forward, because it sounds good. You're like, oh man, $96,000 profit. I mean, that's a salary somewhere. I mean, it really is. It is a salary job somewhere, man. That's one car. So, like I said, fast forward, man. I'm gonna tell you guys about somebody I had. It was a guy that had built a relationship with us because he had been rent from us for. His name was Chris. I'll tell his name because I don't like the dude. I'm not gonna tell his last name, but I really don't like this dude. I know it's business, but I really really don't like this guy. So he had been renting from us for about 4 years. No issues with the dude. So we've had multiple Hellcats, and this dude has always had our Hellcats, and I've always had like an issue with him. Nothing major, but an issue. Like he would burn out, but he would pay for the tires on our narrow body Hellcat. We had like a 2016 Charger narrow body. He always rented it. He always would burn out. And I would tell him no speeding, no burning out. And I always had these little issues here and there with him, but nothing ever major. He was relatively good, other than where I got to the point where I stopped renting them Hellcats. I was like, look, bro, you can't rent Hellcats from me anymore because you're like in dire to do a burnout. Like this dude has to do a burnout and he has to go crazy. So he's like, you know what, bro, I'm not gonna rent Hellcats from you anymore. I'm gonna rent everything but the Hellcat. I'm not gonna ask for it anymore. He started renting the C63, the M4. He would rent the Escalade, the Mustang 5.0, the GT 350 Mustang. Trying to think what else he would rent. He has a Lamborghini Huracan. I trusted him with that. McLaren 570S, trust him with that. No issues out of this dude. So he had been renting from us for like 4 years. No problems, no nothing. There was a point in time where I'm like, he got a little older because he was like, in his mid 20s. He got a little older. I guess he got mature and stuff. He'd been renting from me for a few years now with no issues. There was no problem. So he had like disappeared for a little bit. He came back, started renting from me again, and he asked for the Hellcat. And I was like, you know what, man? You got full coverage insurance. You seem more responsible. I haven't had any issues out of you. I let him take a C63 MGS from here to Vegas twice, no issues. And I don't let any of our cars go to Vegas. But he was a return renter, and I trusted him. Like, if you want to pay a extra fee, I'll let you take it to Vegas. He took it to Vegas, brought it back, no issues. He's like, hey man, can I rent the Hellcat wide body? And I'm like, I thought about him. Like, I talked to my business partner Bill. He was like, we haven't had any problems out of Chris in a long time. So he was like, let's let him rent it. Let him go ahead. If you trust him, he's like, I trust him. Just we haven't had. If he took the Lamborghini Huracan and all these other cars we having issues, I have no problem with the rental. But there's something about Hellcats, bro. I don't know what it is. I've driven so many Hellcats. I've owned Hellcats. I know they're fun cars, but there's something about the Hellcat that makes people act and drive a way that they usually wouldn't drive. Like it's like it brings like the I don't know like the speed demon out of people. So obviously, he heard he knew my rules. He rented this Hellcat wide body about 10 times, I promise you. I had maybe two speed alerts from him within a span of like 4 or 5 months of him renting it. I mean, he would rent it like all the time. He's from Florida. He would come here to LA with, either him and his girl or him and one of his friends, and they would always rent the Hellcat wide body. He loved it. Always call, hey, bro, there's a wide body there. And I'm like, most of the time it was rented. But if I knew he was coming, I would reserve it for him and let him rent it because he would always rent it for like 4 or 5 days at a time, which be like a $2,000-3,000 rental. And so fast forward to what happened. So imagine whole year's worth. We're going into this like the second year having this car. We make 96K first year running out the gate with this car. It's a super profitable car, one of our most profitable. I would say mid-tier cars. Outside of like the Lamborghinis and stuff that were like 1,000 to 1,300 a day. Those cars are just different level. But as far as like a car under 100K, like right at that level, it was one of the most profitable cars we've ever had in our fleet ever. There's very few cars that's ever rivaled that. I will say the Porsche 911 did. The C63 was like, I'm telling you, it was like the unicorn car. People do not understand how much money the C63 AMG S made us. And it was like a 2019 or something. I would have never guessed this car would make as much money as it did, and with relatively no issues. And then I believe what else car was close to that? There was something else that was close to that. Um, I can't think. I'll think about it later. It'll come back to me. But there was very few cars that made that kind of money as far as the Hellcat that consistently. The Hellcat Challenger, that was another one. The Hellcat Challenger was a beast too. It was a Hellcat Challenger narrow body, and it made close to almost the same thing. I think the only thing that took away from it was the two door, but it still had a lot of space. Um, but yeah, anyways, like I was saying to the story with Chris. So imagine we have we're up like 96K on this car, which is crazy in a year. Um, Relatively no issues. It's still in good condition. I think the first year we had like maybe I want to say it had like 13, 14,000, maybe more. I could be wrong. It had a lot of miles on it for a year, obviously because we were renting it. But you know, fast forward. So one day he contacts us. Chris contacts me. He's like, "Hey, I want to rent the wide body. Nothing out of ordinary." He's here with one of his friends. Comes and picks it up. I think he had it for like 3 days or something. So first day, no issues. Second day, no issues. Third day, on his last day of his rental, um, I'm actually out. I'll never forget this day. So I'm actually out driving the Hellcat Challenger. I'm going to pick up the Mercedes. I believe it was like the Mercedes S560 or something that we had at the time. I was going to pick it up with one of my business partners, and I'll never forget this. She was like, it was weird. She was like, I don't have a good feeling about the Hellcat, and I'm like, what? Why? She's like, I just don't. I'm like, I don't know. She's like, I just don't have a good feeling about it. I'm like, that's weird. So the day goes on. We're just picking up cars, running some errands for the business, and you know, uh, I got a speed alert from Chris, which was weird because I never got speed alerts from him anymore, not even with the Hellcat wide body. So I get a speed alert from Chris, and it was like 105 or something like that. So I'm literally I'm driving, so I didn't want to text him, but I'm about to, like, I'm getting to where I'm going. I'm gonna pull over and I'm gonna, say, hey Chris, like, hey bro, what's going on? And I'm not even lying to you guys. I'm gonna put the text. I think I still have the text. I'm gonna put the text up on the screen, with the GPS tracking information, so you guys can see how this situation played out. I'm literally about to get off my exit to text this dude, like, hey Chris, bro. chill out on the speed alerts. I get another one. Like I get a 105, then I get like a 135. I think it was like 135 or 125-mile-an-hour speed alert. And at this point, I'm literally mid text, right? He calls me and he's like, "Hey Daniel, man, what's going on?" I'm like, "Hey, hey, how's it going, man? I don't know how to tell you this, man. I really hate when he said that. It's like my heart dropped because I knew what it was. I 100% knew what it was. I was like, this dude wrecked the car. Say, bro, I hate to let you and your company down, man, because you guys trust me, but I hate to tell you, man, but I've been in a bad wreck. I'm like, student wrecked the Hellcat, man. I'm like, it's just, I was like, oh, I was just like, dude, no way this dude wrecked the Hellcat, bro. And he was speeding. So I'm a businessman, but I was so mad. I was so mad. I was so mad that I had trusted this dude with this Hellcat. And the first thing I always ask people, are you okay? I'm trying to be cool. Like, hey, man, you okay? How bad is it? He's like, bro, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. I hit like four cars. I'm like, so now I'm like even more mad because I'm like, man, please tell me this dude didn't hurt somebody. So yeah, man, he uh he told me that, and so I'm in the Hellcat Challenger, so I stop what I'm doing. I tell the person with the S560 like, hey, just leave the car. I'm gonna come back and get it later. It's fine. I'm rushing over here to the scene of the Hellcat, right? The whole time I'm driving around mad, bro. I'm speeding. I'm trying to really collect myself because it made me so mad because the only thing I was hoping is like, man, like, hey, maybe it was like a fender bender or something. But the way he explained it and the way he was like, oh, damn near crying on the phone, I knew it was bad. So I get there. As soon as I pull up, I see the Hellcat. It's bad. This thing is like, he basically, what he said to me was he was driving it. Um, he the tire didn't have tread, and he lost control and he hit the wall. And I'm just like, what? Like, it didn't even make sense to me when he said it. I'm like, what do you mean the tire didn't have thread? I'm like, I got pictures of all these tires, and not to even, say that these we had just put brand new. I think it was Pirelli P Zeros or the Michelin Pilot Sport. One of them. It was something. Um, we had just put them on there. Like it was, we replaced the tires when they get down to like I want to say like 50%. We always replace them just to be on the safe side because the Hellcats without traction is just you're like asking for it. Um, so yeah, he said that it was weird to me, and I keep in mind I'm already mad. Like I'm mad. Like I'm heated. So I'm trying to be cool because I know he's lying to me, and I'm just like Chris, bro. Like, were you speeding? And he's like, no, man, I wasn't speeding. I wasn't speeding. And I'm like looking at the tracker and I can see his entire driving path live. Like my trackers I use, which is links up, um, you can go back and replay the whole path of the car. So it showed me exactly what he did. And I'm like, how was this dude speeding in rush hour traffic on, if you're familiar with LA, it was towards Rosemead, like Rosemead and Arcadia area, that highway at like 5 o'clock. Everyone knows it's packed with traffic. So I'm like, how's this dude speeding? Then it dawned on me, he was in the carpool lane. So he's like telling me he didn't speed. I'm like super mad because I know he was speeding. I'm not even really talking to him. I'm talking to the cop. So the cop was like, hey, are you the owner? And I'm like, yeah, I'm the owner. Keep in mind, I don't know what happened. So he's like, hey, man, I just want to let you know, this guy, he hit three other people and two of them are hurt. They got, had to get carried away in the ambulance and they're going to the hospital. I'm just like, oh my God, bro. So I'm just like, I already knew, man. I'm like, I'm about to get contacted by attorneys. This is about to be bad. So, uh, Chris had his own insurance policy, but because I always doubted Chris when it came to things, even though I checked his policy, I added another layer of insurance onto the Hellcat. So I have the ability to add insurance as a rental company. So I added extra insurance on it. Um, but we'll get to that, man. So um, yeah, so his story wasn't adding up. He had called his mom. I didn't even know his mom lived in California. He had called his mother, and his mother came to the scene. Um, she was really like, she was weird, man. Like, no accountability. Saying like the car's tire was bald. Keep in mind, this tire was so bad. Basically, it was the signs that this dude You know when a Hellcat does a one wheel burnout, or any car does a one wheel burnout, that's what it was. This tire was normal, but this tire on the rear passenger side was bald, like bad, like to the wires. I'm like, what the heck happened? So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, this dude did a burnout of some sort. One side, one wheel was spinning for some reason. Like he got sideways. I don't get it. Like he got sideways, and I don't know if the diff locked or something, but the tire was still spinning on this side, but on this side it wasn't. So I don't know what it is what he was really doing, but I just didn't believe the story, man. But this Hellcat was tore up, bro, and it hurt my heart because I knew it could be fixed though. I looked at it, I'm like, man, this thing is it's messed up. But shout out to my guys over at AA Auto Works. That's my body shop who I do all. I won't let anyone touch my cars except those guys. Shout out to Carl. Shout out to Kenny. They literally work magic on cars that have been wrecked, man. It is crazy. So I call Carl. I'm like, hey man, somebody wrecked the Hellcat. He's like, bro, you got like 7 cars up here already. He's like, are you kidding me? I was like, yeah, man. He's like, how bad is it? I sent him a picture. He's like, oh, it looks. He's like, it's cosmetic. That's what he said. He's like, it's cosmetic. He's like, it looks a lot worse than it seems. He's like, that's not really that bad of a fix. But he's like, tow it up here so I can inspect, the suspension and see, what's really damaged on it. So I had Chris pay for the tow. I'm like, bro, you gonna pay for the tow? I'm not paying for it. You gonna call it? The tow truck driver was there. I'm like, you paying for the tow? I'm not paying for the tow. Especially because I knew he was speed. I'm like, you're paying for it. He kept trying to. Well, what about my deposit? I was like, what about your deposit, bro? You asked me about a deposit when you just wrecked, our 100K Hellcat speeding. Keep in mind, I don't know none of the stuff that actually happened. So I'm talking to the officer. He was super cool. He was like, hey man, yeah. He was like, this dude was speeding. Keep in mind, Chris is like kind of trying to argue with me, and I'm trying to be cool. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be a cool, calm, level-headed businessman as I am. I try to keep my, this over there and this over there when it comes to dealing business. But there's only I had like a threshold when it comes to people, man. Because Chris is like kind of talking to me, kind of crazy, and I'm like, I had to kind of like step outside of business mode and kind of step into like, yo, like, who are you talking to, bro? Like, I don't care if your mom's here or this cop. Like, you better lower your voice when you're talking to me. That's kind of where it got to, because he was arguing with me about what happened. Because I knew he didn't. I knew the story didn't match up. So, you know, the guy's towing the car away. Chris is mad at me because I made him pay for the tow, and he said something, like smart to me, I think. And I was like, bro, I'm gonna tell you, like, you keep talking crazy to me. I'm gonna show the cop the GPS of the car. And he's like, oh, I don't care, bro. Like, yeah. He's like trying to get loud with me and stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. So, I don't usually do stuff like that, but I'm like, all right, cool. You want to cause me problems? I'm gonna cause you problems. This is the mistake that I made in this situation. I let my ego get the best of me. I'm like, oh, cool. So I go back to the cop like, hey, you want to see something? This dude was going like 127 miles an hour when this wreck happened. So he's like, the cop's like, do you have proof of that? And I'm like, yeah, look. And I show him my phone. Cop's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna write him a reckless driving ticket because you know A, B, and C got hurt over here, and they're going to the hospital. So you're showing me proof that he was speeding. So I'm gonna write him a ticket for reckless driving. So I did this not really thinking in my head like, hey man, I need this dude to talk to the insurance. But again, that was my pride and my ego getting the best of me, and I really shouldn't have did that. But we're gonna get to that part. So he writes him a ticket. Chris ain't talking to me anymore. Obviously he's mad. I don't really care. I'm not really thinking. No, I need this dude. I need to talk. I need it. I need to be cool with him because I need him to talk to the insurance company. But let me tell you what he did. So I told the tow truck guy told the charger to AA Auto Works. Um, Chris leaves with his mom or whatever. I'm talking to the officer. He's like, yeah, man, it was pretty bad. He's like, we also might have it on dash cam, the wreck. So I never actually got that, guys. I know it would have been a cool video if I had that, but I never actually got it. I wonder if they might actually still have it. Someone did have it. It actually did get turned into the insurance company. I just never requested it. I don't know why I wasn't thinking. But let me tell you how small this world is. So I post on social media a lot on our rental page. That's how we get 90% of our traffic because we have a really big social media following on Drive. So I post what happened. I post, on my personal page though. On my personal Instagram, I was like super frustrated. I posted what happened like another day in the rental business. I showed the Hellcat, and then when I show the Hellcat, in the background you can see the highway of where it was. So my friend Alex, this is crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. One of my friend Alex, shout out to him. I'm not gonna say his last name, but he's the owner of a C63 AMG 50. I think it's called a 507 Special Edition, the one that has like the yellow accents. It's a super super clean, nice car. He saw my story and he messages me and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "I had no clue that was your Hellcat." He was like, "Bro, I saw the entire accident unfold." Really? So he saw the entire thing. So he's like telling me what happened, and I couldn't believe it. So he's like, yeah, bro. So he's like, basically what happened was he was like, your Hellcat that your renter had was racing a Cadillac CTSV in the carpool lane. He was like, I was in my C63, and he's like, I could just hear the whine past me. Both of the cars whining. He's like, they flew past me doing like 120. He's like, they were flying. He was like, I was like, damn, these dudes are flying. He was like, a little ways down the road, because he's like, he was in traffic and they're in the carpool lane. So he was like, a little ways down. He's like, I get to further down. He's like, and I see the Hellcat. He's like, I see smoke. But then he's like, I see the Hellcat off to the side. He's like, then I see the CTSV just booking it, just taking off down the highway. He was like, so these guys were racing. He was like, but your guy, your renter in the Hellcat, he lost control of it and he slammed into the wall, the barrier of the carpool lane. He bounced off, smacked into another car, which was a lady. She bounced off, smacked another car. She went flying somewhere and he slid and then went off the exit of the highway into the grass. Um, so yeah, and it was just a big whole situation. It's crazy that someone was around to witness it because he tried to lie to me and he got his little attitude and everything. So like I said, the car was towed to A Auto Works, the body shop. Um, I had got him a ticket from the officer. So fast forward, it was time, the next day. Um, Whoever got hit in the car was passed. I mean, like she went and got one of those billboard attorneys or something and hired one of them because I just got a call out of nowhere from an attorney and she was like, "Hey, I'm representing such and such that was hit by your vehicle. I need your insurance." And I'm like, wait, that's not how things work. I'm like, there's a process to all this. I was like, this just happened yesterday. We got to let the insurance companies determine how this is going. She's like, no, I need your insurance. I'm like, well, first off, I'm not giving you anything. Second off, I've been doing this for 10 years and I know how this process works. I'm not giving you my insurance. So I was like, I told her, like, you're wasting your time. She's like, well, I'm going to go file a motion to get your insurance. I'm like, okay, you can do that. But I'm like, the officer on the scene has Chris's insurance. She's like, no, I want your insurance. I'm like, you're not going to get my insurance. But I'm like, if you want Chris's insurance, the driver of the vehicle that rented it, who assumes all responsibility of the vehicle, which it says in my contract, and I purposely put that in there for that exact reason to identify us, the owners, and the rental company of anything that happens with the vehicle. It's all on the renter. I do that to protect our business because you never know what someone's going to do in a vehicle. It also says that on our website and it says that in our policy. So I sent her website. I sent her the contract. She saw it and she pretty much was looking stupid. She didn't know what to do after that. So I'm like, if you want someone's insurance, you can get Chris's insurance. You can get it from the officer. He has it. He gave his email. You can call down there and get his insurance, but you're not getting my insurance. You're not going to put a claim on my insurance for something that this guy did, especially if he was, racing. So she hung up. She was pissed. Fast forward a few days later, she called me again, trying to be more pushy. I told her pretty much like you're wasting your time. She was trying to yell on the phone. I hung up on her. Had to do this like 3 or 4 times before I never actually heard from her again. I think she got the clue and she went after Chris and his insurance. She just figured she was going to go after the rental company because obviously we have a bigger policy. So she was going to try to max it out and go after us for the most money possible, which I did not let her do. But we can get to that further down the line once I start getting to more of the rental business details and stuff and how to run a rental business, car rental business. But like I said, the contract that I have that every renter signs, they basically assume all responsibility on the vehicle. They got to carry full coverage insurance, all that stuff. So I do it. Like I said, I've been doing this rental stuff for a long, long time, and I got everything that I do from guys like Black and White Rent a Car and Beverly Hills Rent a Car. I had learned a lot of this stuff for being in the rental industry long before I had my own business doing it, just so I could do it the right way. But pretty much, yeah, like I said, um, he pretty much excludes us from everything that happens with the car when he rents it. He in his contract it says he's responsible for everything that happens to the car. Any incident, anything involving the police, any crash, any speeding, anything he does when he's behind the wheel of that car is on him. So that's pretty much how I went with that. So like I said, I got him a ticket. So when it was time for me to contact the insurance company, I'm not thinking. I contact the insurance company. Will you believe? I'm not lying to you. I'm going to put all this up on the screen as I'm talking so you guys can see it. Um, this dude did not, would not, because he was mad at me. He would not answer the phone for the insurance. He would not answer the phone for his own insurance. He would not answer the girl's insurance call. He would not answer the detective's call. And he would not answer the attorney's call. It was like two attorneys calling him. He would not answer anyone's call. He just basically went ghost. He left LA, ran back to Florida, and he literally ignored us. I'm not even lying to you. He ignored us for an entire year. A little bit longer. I think the Hellcat said it was down for like 360 something days. So keep in mind, luckily, my friend Carl, who owns A Auto Works, did not charge me storage on the Hellcat. It literally sat at his shop in a corner for a whole all 368 days. So keep in mind, for 368 days, I had a fifth. Was it a no? Let me get it wrong. I'm thinking of the track act. Hawk. The Chargers payment was like 930, so I had a $930 car payment plus I had to keep insurance on it in case something happened at the shop. So I kept insurance on it, right? I paid that for an entire year. So let's do the math. We're gonna do this. So $930 times 12. It's $11,000. The insurance on that car was like 350. I want to say 350 for the commercial insurance. So 350 times 12. So that came out to about $15,000, $15,360 that we paid out of pocket. That's just in the payments and the insurance. Now, keep in mind how much I told you that this car made. So imagine $15,000, right? So the car made $96,000 the previous year. Okay, imagine this car was down for an entire year after that. So we missed out on basically. So look, so say let's just say on so let's say okay, let's say it didn't have such as a hot year the second year. So let's say it made 75,000. It would have made $75,000, right? Minus, I mean, plus the $15,000. That's $90,000 right there, right? That's $90,000. Okay. So if you do the math, it comes out to $90,000 for it being down for a year with the money it would have made in rentals plus what we paid out of pocket. Keep in mind, I just said the year before we made $96,000 out of it, right? So basically, we're down to like $6,000 that we profited, all because of one person's dumb mistake that cost us all that money. So, like I said, a year went by. I'm battling attorneys. I'm battling. I've already filed a lawsuit against him. He's not answering the insurance. Keep in mind, all this dude had to do to get my car fixed was answer the phone for his insurance. He was covered not only through his insurance, he was covered through the rental insurance. They would have fixed the car, but the way insurance works, they have to talk to him because he's the policyholder. He would not answer his own insurance, and he would not answer our insurance. He would not answer the phone. So he was being malicious. He would not answer. I mean, I called him, I texted him for a whole year, did everything possible. I'm at the point where I'm just like, look, my guy Carl told me, look, man, it's gonna be about $25,000 to fix this car. I'm at the point I'm just like, we've lost a year's worth of revenue. We lost all these payments out of pocket. I'm just about to fork the 25K and just fix it because I'm like, look, I can have it up and running. At least we can be renting it, yada yada yada. And I thought about it, I'm like, man, but what if I spend all that money and then it gets wrecked again? It's just a part of business, it could have happened. Um, but let me tell you what I did. So I'm just like thinking, what can I do to get this guy to answer the phone? What can I do to get him to answer the insurance? He moves around a lot. So his mom, who was on the scene, let me tell you how the internet's a powerful, powerful tool. So one day, this is a year later, I'm just like, he's not answering my attorney, he's not answering anybody. I go Google his name. His mom just registered an LLC in Florida, in Davie, Florida, a hair salon studio. She put him on it, his name. Guess what you can find with an LLC? You can find somebody's address that they use to register the LLC. So I go pay a little $5.99 or whatever for the address, and I get his current address. So I go, I draft up another demand letter, and I pretty much told him, I said, "Look, Chris, I'll put the demand letter on the screen. I'll blur out his name so you guys can see what I said to him." I pretty much said, like, "Look, I'm suing you for over, I think it was like $150,000 or $200,000 or something. I can't remember. It was a lot. But if you will just answer the phone for the insurance, call them back." They told me I got to the, I'll never forget her name. Her name is Heather. I got to the super supervisor. She's like, "Look, if you can get this dude to respond, he's not responding to our emails, our phone calls. We've sent him automated text messages. We sent him mail in the mail. He's not responding to anything. If you can get him to respond, we will fix your car. We just need him to respond and tell us what happened, that he was driving. That's all he has to do, even with the police report, the dash cam, all the stuff proven, the witnesses proven, the rental contract, photos before and after, everything. His text message him saying he was driving. They needed him to say on a recorded line that he was driving. That's all they needed. So I drafted up this demand letter. I sent it to him, FedEx. And the way I did it, shout out to my business partner Bill, who's been in the business for freaking 30 years. He told me about this. He's like, when you send someone a demand letter, send it FedEx and request a signature so you know they got it. So I sent it to the address and I requested a signature. I sent it to him. He didn't know what it was. So of course you get something in the mail through FedEx, they bring it to your door and they request a signature. So he opens the door, he signs for it. So I know he got it. He opens it, he finally reads it. 2 3 weeks goes by, I'm like not really thinking anything of it. I'll never forget this. I was driving and I got an email from the insurance company and it said this is the, it was like settlement amount or something I forget the term, but they send you something basically getting you to agree that you're not going to file a supplement against them, and this is the amount that you're agreeing to that they're going to pay, and they give you like one opportunity to contest it and you can ask for more money that you think that you're owed. But I was like, at this point, when I saw the amount, they basically paid me out the amount to get the car fixed, 25K. And my other business partner, she was like, I want to go after them for more money because they cover days down. And I'm just like, look, in California, you cannot go for the days, the days down. They have a law against this. It's so stupid. You can only go up to like 60 days of a car being down, a rental being wrecked. That you can try to get money off. At this point, I'm like, I don't even want to do it because they might deny it. So let's just take the money. So we took the money. It worked. I paid my friend's shop. He ended up, looking out for me a little bit, and I think he charged me. It was supposed to be like 25K. He ended up charging me like 18 or something. So shout out to my guy Carl, like I said, and Kenny at AA Auto Works and all those guys. They do in Van Nuys. They do spectacular business. So yeah, man. Didn't take them long. Took them like, I think it took Carl and them guys like a month or two, and it was solely because there was an issue with the suspension that we could not get dialed in. The car, the way it got hit, it really did mess up the suspension bad. So we had to replace everything in the suspension, and believe it or not, the car still would not drive straight. Would not drive straight. It did not have frame damage. We just couldn't figure out what it was. We don't know if it was the lowering springs that we put back on it. We got it aligned 4 5 6 7 8 times, but there was something with the car. When you step on the gas to really get it to go, it would sway. It just had this weird sway to it. It would not drive straight. Um, but we ended up getting it figured out for the most part, and getting it to be able to drive straight after a long time of diagnosing control arms, knuckles, suspension links. It was all kind of. It was so much. It was the smallest, dumbest thing, like the lower control arm that was slightly bent on one of them that you could not see when you looked at it. So we just had to basically go through and replace everything. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much concludes the story. And the title that you guys clicked on in my video, how my Hellcat made $96,000 in a year, and then it turned around and lost all of it because of one person. So yeah, so anybody who's thinking of rent the Hellcat, man, I definitely hope you guys see this video and consider, the risk to reward ratio is just absolutely not worth it, because all it takes is one wreck and one careless person to literally destroy your profits. So yeah, so it was all good and up until then, and that's what happened. So yeah, guys. So this is the second video of the series. Let's talk about it. I'm gonna have plenty of more because I got some crazy, crazy stories, car related. And yeah, definitely stay tuned. Like, subscribe, and share the video. And I look forward to telling you guys some more situations that's happened with the car rental business. I'm out.